Hokage married Kushina and became Naruto's father. Episode 51. Under the lead of Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, Ye Feng and the others soon came to a cave. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost said very respectfully, "Lord Senju Ye Feng, we have searched so much." He heard Ye Feng's conversation along the way, only to learn Ye Feng's identity, and he was very surprised. The name for Night Maple has also changed completely. The Senju clan, that is the legend of the ninja world. As the last bloodline inheritance, Ye Feng is absolutely worthy of respect. How many times have I said that I am not surnamed Senju? Nimas, no one has the surname Senju now. The second generation still has the surname Senju, and by the third generation, even Tsunade and Rope Tree are not surnamed Senju. With the disappearance of the Thousand Hands family, the family policy is to de-Thousand Hands and integrate into the Konoha collective. This is the way the Thousand Hands clan prevents Mushio from being in the forest, but unfortunately it still can't escape the Black Hand. Yes, Lord Ye Feng, if you look at the thick fog of this cave, it is obviously the water escape mist concealment technique, and it is very likely that Terumii is inside. Ye Feng nodded and said, "Well, fine Xiaomei, and you can go." "Thank you, Lord Ye Kid." Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and Loquat Juzo walked in the front, and Ye Feng asked curiously, "This mist concealment technique, don't you have a way to crack it?" The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost said embarrassedly, "Lord Ye Feng, it is very simple to crack the mist concealment technique, as long as you use wind escape or fire concealment. But we ninjas in Mist Hidden Village generally do not practice wind and fire concealment." The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost thought to himself, "The wind and fire have already hung up." Mikoto Uchiha immediately stood up and said, I'll be on fire. Everyone get out of the way." Katakoka Q trouble. Uchiha Mikoto froze and was about to blow into the mouth of the cave, when suddenly, the kunai in the cave shot out. "Be careful." Yikid quickly pulled Mikoto to her side, and the roots of the tree that emerged behind her blocked Kuwu. Mikoto said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, my ninjutsu is too slow." "It's okay, you guys go first." Ye Feng glanced at Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and said. Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost glanced at each other and went in depressed. The two most elite Shangnan of Wuing Village went in, and naturally quickly found Terumii, as well as her guard Qing. The two were caught directly. The huge Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost directly grabbed Terumii, laughed, and said, "Lord Ye Feng, caught her." Terumi was wearing a luxurious blue dress with a look of horror. "What are you going to do?" Ye Kid is definitely not an ordinary ninja. I am afraid that it is a large family in the Mist Hidden Village, but he was forced to flee because of the failure of the internal struggle. Just as everyone was relaxing, Terumi blew a breath into the face of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost who grabbed him. Boiling, the art of clever mist. With a thick, acidic high-heat mist, it comes directly to the face. Ugh. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost screamed bitterly, "You are looking for death." Just when the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost was about to slash Xiaomei to death, Ye Feng suddenly struck. I saw that Ye Feng's hand was wrapped in thunder light, and 1,000 birds screamed, illuminating everyone's faces pale. Kakashi's eyes are about to pop out. This is his self-created Thunder 1,000 Birds. When did teacher Ye Kid learn it? Is the teacher a genius? How many times did you read it? And it looks so much more perfect than mine. For a moment, Yokaid's image in Kakashi's heart became tall. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost saw Ye Feng's hand and was immediately shocked. "Lord Ye Kid." Before the words were finished, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost's eyes widened, and he felt that he was flying. And when he looked carefully, his headless body and neck were spraying blood. Ugh, it's so bloody. Mikoto Uchiha, Rin, Kai's third class, and the three students who had just woken up, screamed one after another. They had never seen anything so bloody. Even on this mission, no one was killed. The three students who had just woken up fainted again. Kai, they couldn't help but vomit too. Kakashi and Obito swallowed, a little sick, but they were getting used to it. The nearest Xiaomei was directly frightened and stupid, and was directly taken away by Ye Feng. Uchiha Mikoto was surprised to see Kakashi and Obito so calm. Looking closely, Obito actually opened the Sharingan. Just now, along the way, she only paid attention to Ye Feng and ignored Obito, only to find out that Obito was a member of the Uchiha clan. A genius who opened the eye of the riding wheel? How could she not be impressed? Uchiha Mikoto was about to ask Obito when she heard Yokaid say, "Kakashi, Obito, Rin, the rest of the person, leave it to you." What? Tell such a young student to kill Shinobu? Uchiha Mikoto turned her head and saw that the Loquat Juzo was once again wrapped in rice dumplings. Loquat Juzo shouted in horror, "Ye Kid. You are a member of the Thousand Hands clan, why are you so untrustworthy?" The green next to him was dumbfounded. What's going on? Does black eat black? Yokaid touched Terumi's head, shrugged his shoulders, and said, "I said I wouldn't kill you. That is, I won't kill you." Kakashi, Obito, Rin, Kami. "Yes, teacher." Rin snorted and stood up with a pale face. The bloody scene just now was a little disgusting, but she couldn't lose to Kakashi and Obito. Ha! Lin Jiao screamed and threw out countless kunai and shurikens. Bang bang bang. Loquat Juzo screamed miserably, and his face was all filled with kunai and shuriken. Yes, Lena, Obito said in surprise, but was kicked in the ass by Ye Feng. You're on, so much nonsense. At this time, Kakashi began to seal the seal, and then his left hand held his right hand, and the palm of his right hand burst out with brilliant thunder light. Uchiha Makoto looked at Kakashi's thunder for 1,000 years, slightly surprised. Is this the trick that Yokai passed to Kakashi? What a scary chakra. Loquat Juzo's face was full of shuriken and kunai, his eyes widened. He wanted to struggle, but he couldn't struggle, and was desperately helped by the root vines. Don't come here, be careful I kill you. Before the words fell, Kakashi rushed forward with the afterimage. Swish, blood splatter. Kakashi's figure turned into a Loquat Juzo. Loquat Juzo's face was full of horror, and his waist was broken. Well, the main thing is that Kakashi is still small, the height is not enough. It should have been inserted, but it turned out to be a stomach insertion. Ugh. Then, Obito roared, holding Kuwu in both hands, jumped up high, and stabbed at the heart of Loquat Juzo. Loquat Shirzong's face was unwilling, and there was no breath. Uchiha Makoto and Haruno Zhao were stunned. The 7th class of the Night Maple Belt did not look like a newcomer class at all. It was too calm. Even their Naka shinobi are not so calm, right? Ye Feng smiled and said while touching Terumi's head, well done. Terumi frowned and looked at Ye Kid. Ye Feng said, don't spray me, be careful if I bind you. Jiaomei's little loli suddenly shivered, and said in a milky voice, what are you? Of course it's the one who saved you, we are from Konoha village. Ao stood up and said, you are Konoha ninjas? Why arrest us? Go back and ask Hokage. Ye Feng smiled and took them directly away. Along the way, Uchiha Makoto was very surprised that Kakashi turned out to be the son of White Fang. No wonder he was so strong. And a genius ninja like Obito was actually buried, and the family didn't know anything? Bring the soil, after you go back, I will take you to meet the head of the family. Obito nodded and said, well, Sister Makoto. Obito is now very excited, he has been appreciated, and he has to meet the owner. He has finally become a powerful character, no longer the unknown self he used to be. Obito looked at Ye Feng, and was very grateful to Ye Feng. Although teacher Ye Feng is very barbaric, such barbarism is what he opens the chakra eye on. Along the way, everyone talked and laughed and returned to the kilometer bridge. At this time, the bridge has no fog, and you can see the opposite side at a glance. After crossing this bridge, it is the land of fire. We're finally back. Let's go. Everyone showed a look of joy and breathed a sigh of relief. Along the way, I encountered many difficulties and accidents, and finally returned safely. Just as everyone reached the middle of the bridge, Ye Feng stopped, and everyone looked at him strangely. Mikoto Uchiha asked with concern, what's wrong? Haruno Zhao also looked around warily. Lord Ye Feng, is there an enemy? In Ye Feng's mind, the system suddenly appeared again. Ding, based on the current situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1, greedy for life and fear of death, abandon everyone, run away alone, reward, secret art, earth grudge. Option 2, run away with important people Terumi, abandon other unimportant people, reward, blood succession limit, Sharingan. Option 3, learn the spirit of the 2nd generation Hokage, leave the break, save Konoha's future, reward, S-class copy, 2nd generation will of fire defense battle, 3 generations of water shadows? Where are the people? Ye Feng looked around, and suddenly, the bridge shook violently. A terrifying sound suddenly erupted on the sea under the bridge, and countless water columns rose up into the sky. Shui done. Ugh. Except for Ye Feng, everyone else leaned down, and some even lay down directly. Everyone looked terrified. The 3 children in the other classes who woke up after fainting for the 2nd time were all bare children who were less than 10 years old, and they were directly scared and crying. Obito wanted to cry. Rin and Terumi gripped Yokaid's pants tightly. Even Makoto Uchiha and Akira Haruno shivered. Ye Feng looked up and saw that at the top of the bridge, there was a person standing. He has long hair, a water shadow cloak, and closed eyes. This is the 3 generations of water shadows. Episode 52. The secret technique Earth Grievance and the Sharingan are very attractive, but Ye Feng can't do such a rat thing as running away. Seeing that the bridge was about to be broken by the sea, Ye Feng immediately began to form handprints. Mu-dun, tree binding eternal burial. Originally, Mu-duan-shu binding eternal burial used vine-like saplings to entangle opponents, and then grew into large trees, completely crushing opponents under the tree. But now the night maple is used on the bridge, and the big trees that grow up wrap around the entire bridge, making the bridge become stable. As Mimi, Rin, and Uchiha Makoto saw that large trees grew out of the wood of the bridge, and their eyes were sparkling. Ye Feng is so handsome. The teacher is so handsome. This little brother is so handsome. The others also suddenly calmed down in their hearts and felt very safe. The 3 generations of water shadows who were high above looked at Ye Feng, and they were also slightly surprised. Unexpectedly, in an environment without soil, such a terrifying Mudun ninjutsu can be used? Is it really the 1st generation reincarnated? When the 3 generations of water shadow were in the first 5 shadows talks, they were the guards of a generation of water shadows, and standing behind a generation of water shadows were also old people from the era of the first 5 shadows. He looked at the current Ye Feng, and the original figure that appeared in his mind gradually overlapped with Ye Feng. Thinking of this, the third generation of Shui Ying felt a little uneasy in his heart, but he thought of Ju, and the old man, and his heart was a little calmer. As long as this person remains, when the time comes, Konoha village will inevitably be in civil strife. Ye Feng also saw the absolute that suddenly appeared next to the 3 generations of water shadows, or the absolute combination of black and white. Sure enough, it was Uchiha's conspiracy. You guys go, I'll break the back, Ye Feng said lightly. Uchiha Mikoto hurriedly said, Yekade-kun, you take Shinobu with you. Haruno Zhao also said, Lord Ye Feng, you are the most important person. After we come to the break, you go. As he spoke, the huge water column that surged up turned into one water dragon after another, rushing towards Ye Feng's side. Water Dragon Bullet. This is a plural version of the Water Dragon Bullet. Under the use of 3 generations of Water Shadow, the momentum is huge and very terrifying. Haruno Zhao, who just said that he was going to break off, was directly frightened and stupid. Bang! With a loud noise, Ye Feng's hands were sealed, and in front of everyone, a wooden ingot wall appeared, blocking the attack of the water dragon, and the entire bridge shook together. The sea water splashed everyone's clothes. After you break off, you will sacrifice in vain. There is no need at all. You go quickly. I'll be fine. I'm afraid I'll hurt you if I do my best. Let's go. Saying that, Ye Feng used the shadow doppelganger technique and ran away with everyone with the doppelganger. Ye Feng, you must come back safely. Uchiha Mikoto gritted her teeth and ran away with Yokai's doppelganger. The 3rd generation of Mizukage smiled and said, Oh, none of you want to run. Ye Feng's figure flashed, and suddenly appeared in front of the 3 generations of water shadows. Your opponent is me. As soon as the words fell, the 3 generations of water shadows had already flown out upside down. On the other side of the bridge, countless white absolutes suddenly appeared, and everyone showed a terrified look. Not only on this side of the mainland, but also on the other side of the bridge, dense white absolutes appeared, thousands of them, surrounded everyone. Everyone was scared silly. Ye Feng's heart also had a sense of foreboding. How many Baiju were here? Let's go. The Night Maple Doppelganger is directly sealed. Mudun Wood Dragon Art. Mudun Tree Binding Eternal Burial. Countless wooden dragons instantly trapped Baiju, who blocked the bridge. At the same time, the tree was tied to Eternal Burial, pressing those white absolutes under the tree, opening up a way for everyone to escape. You guys go. Leave it to me, Ye Feng said quietly. Teacher, you come with us. Lin watched the endless white come out and was about to cry. The eyes with soil also went into the sand. Even Kakashi said, Sensei, let's go together, we can escape. Terumiai's little Loli also pulled Ye Feng's clothes and looked at Ye Feng. When Mikoto Uchiha was about to speak, she was interrupted by Yokaide. Mikoto, Haruno Zhao, they'll be handed over to you. After Ye Feng's doppelganger finished speaking, his hands were frantically sealed. Mudun Flower Tree Realm has arrived. With Ye Feng's order, the ground standing the bridge instantly cracked. With a loud bang, the entire ground shook and collapsed instantly. The big trees that rose under the ground directly overturned the bridge. Rumble. Half of the steel bridge was instantly plunged into the sea. It was just a few seconds, the cliff split, the bridge broke, and the terrain was changed in one fell swoop. Baiju on the bridge fell into the sea one after another, and Baiju at the other end of the bridge could only watch the cliffside on the opposite side, becoming a forest world of trees and huge flowers. Konoha, Whirlpool Courtyard. 4 Elephant Seal. Jioshinai cast a 4-elephant seal on a pink pig, and a circle of marks appeared on the belly of the pink pig, emitting light. It worked. Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Mito nodded and said, Well, it's good. Next, you have to unseal the 4 elephants of the big dolphin and try it again. This big pink pig is a domesticated psychic beast of the Vortex clan, specially used by newcomers of the Vortex clan to practice sealing. The skin is thick and not easily injured. This large dolphin, and a son called Guinea Dolphin, has been following Tsunade and Shizune. Big Porpoise, let's come again. Jioshinai was very excited. She finally learned the 4 elephants seal, and soon, she would be able to learn all of the Vortex clan's sealing technique. At least in terms of sealing technique, it was stronger than Ye Feng. Moreover, Grandma Mito said that if you learn the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, you can get married. Thinking of this, Jioshinai's smiling face appeared in her heart. When you come back from this mission, you can prepare for marriage. Ye Feng, be safe. Come back quickly. Episode 53. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi was working on these documents. Lord Hokage, something has happened over there in Mist Hidden Village. A dark shinobi appeared in front of Sarutobi Hibi. Big deal? Orochimaru, who was sitting next to him, looked at this Kaminobu curiously. Ape Fairy frowned slightly and said, What's wrong? Jiraiya-sama was not able to intercept the Ninja Knife 7 in Mist Hidden Village, and the Ninja Knife 7 went to the west. West? Ape Fairy groaned, looked at the map, and his eyes suddenly widened. Damn, didn't you stop the Ninja Dao 7? Ape Fairy Chopper was suddenly furious, and the momentum that burst out made the dark part tremble. Orochimaru listened curiously next to him. Yes, Naruto-sama, Jiraiya-sama has been struck by the sound. It's over. The 7 people of the ninja knife, the strongest elite upper ninja directly under the water shadow of the misty hidden village, the 7-person combination, can destroy an effect overnight. The direction they are heading to is the mountain forest where Terumi may be hidden, and the destination of Night Maple is also there. If something happens to Ye Feng, something big will happen in Konoha village. But now I'm afraid it's too late. The big snake pale next to him said. Zillai also knows that he has been deceived, so there is no remedy? Lord Zilaya said that he has sent the fastest wave feng shui to the gate to endure. The big snake pale next to him squinted his eyes and said, it's too easy to be deceived. The shadow department Shinobu hurriedly said, it's the intelligence department that is wrong. Who handled the intelligence? It's the intelligence handled by Ryosuke Mito and Shinto Shudo. Sarutobi Hinata's eyes widened, and he was immediately furious. Ryosuke Mito and Shun Madu? What do they want to do? Menyen, Koharu, are you still guarding the will of fire like this? Knowing how important it is to Konoha's significance to the inheritance of the first generation, do you still want to do this? Apefei Richo took a deep breath, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Even if Ye Feng and Feng Shui men can be 2 people to fight the 7 people of the ninja Dao, I am afraid that everyone else will suffer heavy casualties. For the sake of their own personal vendetta, the Mito clan and the Dormitory clan actually attacked Yokaid without any warning, which was completely ignoring his Hokage. Pass it on to me. Knock knock. Before Sarutobi could finish speaking, Mito Menyen and Shun Koharu came with 2 young juniors. It was their children Mito Ryosuke and Shun Mado. Naruto-sama, Naruto-sama. Sarutobi Richo's eyes were extremely cold, and he looked at the big snake pill and said, you guard at the door, Menyen, Koharu, you sit, and the others go out. Yes, teacher. Orochimaru walked out with the others with a smile on his face. In the Hokage office, at this time, there were only 3 people, Sarutobi Hinata, Mito Manita, and Koharu. The atmosphere is full of a kind of oppression, and the mountain rain is about to come. Apefei Ri looked at his 2 old classmates quietly, and did not speak. The atmosphere is dignified. Mito Menyen couldn't help but say, Sarutobi, these are all mistakes, not intentional by us. Yes? Apefei, don't be angry. The origin of the Night Maple is full of mysteries. Whether it is a hidden bomb or not, no one knows. Everything we do, not for us, but for Konoha. It's also a knock on him. Don't make him feel like he can do whatever he wants in Konoha. Ape Flying Sun Chopper is clear. This time, Tuanzong returned and robbed the 2 tails and the 6 artifacts of Yunin village, mainly the credit of the 3 major families of Shimura, Mito, and Zhuanqi. In addition, there is an alliance agreement with Hanzo, a demigod of Yuin village. There are also the resources that the 3 major families of Shimura, Mito, and Shuanyu have mastered over the years, the families behind them, and so on. Now they just want to show Sarutobi whether it is Yokai that is important, or whether their 3 major families of Shimura, Mito, and Shuanyu are important. Their 2 major families are not something they can mess with casually. Moreover, they didn't do things to the end, they just messed up Ye Feng's first mission and gave Ye Feng's warning. Mito Menyen and Sleeping Koharu had completely made their posture clear, and even faintly told him that if he wanted to blame them, not only them, but also other families would kill him and leave him. Ape Flying Sun was silent. The corners of Mito's and Koharu's mouths raised wistfully. Ape Flying, Ye Feng will be fine, and it is more important for us to welcome the return of Tuanzong. This time the trouble of Tuanzong's return, you still need Ape Fei to make a move. Sarutobi looked coldly at Mito Menyen and Shui Xiachun, and at this moment, the big snake pill outside the door suddenly said, Teacher, the Wave Wind Water Gate is back. Let him in. The door opened, and when Wave Feng Mizumon saw Mito Manita and Koharu, he was stunned for a moment, and then said, Naruto-sama, it's safe to come back. Ye Feng Shangnan. Feng Shui men half knelt down and said, I came back first, and Ye Feng Shangnan is still in the land of water. What's going on? Report Naruto-sama. Because of the casualties, I sent the wounded back first, and Yokaid Kami Shinobi is still on duty. Mito Menyen and Koharu next to him suddenly smiled. I heard that Ye Feng did his best for the 7th class he coached, and this time there were heavy casualties. Ape Fei Richop frowned and said, there are casualties, and you still have to carry out a mission? Watergate said respectfully, yes, Ye Feng Shan Shinobu has already solved the Ninja Sword 7. And one of us on Konoha's side has been injured. What? As soon as Watergate's words came out, the whole body was silent. Everyone's expressions were stunned. The 7 people of the ninja knife are gone, and we Konoha only injured 1 shinobi? It sounds like it was killed by Night Maple Pine? Episode 54, Watergate, let's talk about what's going on. Yes, Naruto-sama. So, Watergate told what had happened, and by the time he arrived, the battle was over. Everyone looked incredulous. The 7 people of the ninja sword were hung up by Ye Feng alone, and the lower ninja Mat Dai opened the 8 doors, and also beat a ninja knife 7? Ape Flying Sun said in a deep voice, very good, Mat Dai's talent is something we ignored before. When I come back, you take me to see him. Now Ape Flying Sun Chopper has more important things to do, that is, to stop Liang and let Tuanzong return safely. After that, Ape Flying Sun Chopper walked over, followed by the big snake pill. After a while, another dark shinobu hurriedly arrived. What about Naruto-sama? Turning to sleep, Shinto stood up and said, Naruto-sama has something to do. What's wrong? Lord Xuan, something big has happened over there in Wuin village. What's going on? Lord Jiraiya lost contact, and the 3 generations of water shadow suddenly attacked everyone in Ye Feng. When Mito Menyen and Koharu heard this, they were stunned for a moment, and then the corners of their mouths turned up slightly. They also didn't expect that Ye Feng was so unlucky. It turned out that the 3rd generation of water shadow personally made a move, and this time Ye Feng was dead. Turning to sleep in a deep voice, when did this happen? It's half an hour from now. Mito Menyen immediately said, that's a pity, Naruto-sama is not there. The other upper shinobi are also in the mission. Now our Konoha's endurance is insufficient. We can only hope that Yokaide can escape, so let's go back and rescue Yokaide. When Shadow Shinobu heard Mito Menyen's words, his eyes widened. Don't hurry up yet. Yes. Yes, my lord. The Shadow Upper Shinobu is about to curse. Such a terrifying battlefield. He took ahead to save Ah. These 2 former advisor elders are really too poisonous. Mito Menyen and Koharu smiled slightly. Now like this, Ye Feng should be helpless. The 3 generations of Water Shadow personally took action, and there were thousands of Baiju, and they must leave Ye Feng. This is very good. Without Yokaide, a rebellious fellow, when Danzo returns, then Konoha will be back on its proper track. On the border between the land of water and the land of fire, half of the bridge collapses into the sea, and the sea is turbulent. Countless white absolute pressed towards the night maple in the center of the tree realm. The outermost trees, creaking and then clattering, collapsed. Immediately afterwards, the circle of roots and vines inside was also cut off by the dense white around it. On the other side, after the 3rd generation of Shueying also ate a few punches from Ye Feng's doppelganger, his face was swollen, and he was no longer as handsome as he was at the beginning. But he finally opened the distance between him and Ye Feng's doppelganger, and constantly used water ninjutsu, and the endless stream of sea water continued to turn into multiple water dragons, bombarding towards Ye Feng's doppelganger. Bang! Ye Feng's doppelganger was directly bombarded into slag, but at the same time, Night Maple once again split into 3. The reason why it is not separated more is because it is divided into 3, and all 3 have the current strength of 1/3. If you divide too much, you will not believe. Ye Feng's hands gently closed in front of him, forming a handprint, very mysterious. The huge chakra suddenly surged in the body, and the light in his eyes flickered. Mudan Wooden Man Art. Rumble. The ground where Ye Feng was standing instantly exploded, and a huge wooden Buddha statue head emerged from the ground, and Ye Feng himself stood on top of the wooden Buddha's head. Immediately afterwards, the Buddha statue continued to emerge, standing up to the heavens and the earth, and in the violent tremor of the earth, burrowing out of the earth. I saw a circle of palms behind the Buddha statue densely packed and layered. Not far away, a chakra eye under the mask suddenly turned. This is the doppelganger of Uchiha. He was secretly watching. This time, not only black and white, but also the doppelganger of Uchiha. The body is connected to the outer path golem, and it can barely send a doppelganger out. He came here today to find out the situation of Ye Feng. This is Immortal Muduan True Thousands of Hands top? Looking at the huge Buddha statue towering into the clouds, his hands were folded in the middle, countless giant arms were stretched out behind his back, counting white, and the doppelganger of Madara was suddenly stunned. He took 2 steps back and muttered, impossible, absolutely impossible. He doesn't have an immortal body. How can he make an immortal magic would escape top transformation? No, this is not a top makeover. This is the art of a wooden man. Uchiha was shadowed by the immortal wood done between the 1,000 hands pillar. Now looking at the wooden man who suddenly appeared, they were all startled. In fact, what Ye Feng used was indeed the wooden art that Uchiha finally judged. Instead of immortal FAMU dungeon, thousands of hands top. The difference between the two is that immortal FAMU Dinan needs to transform into an immortal body. Ye Feng's current fusion degree is not enough to transform into an immortal human body, and it must have a 100% fusion degree to transform into an immortal human body. Even so, it startled Uchiha. Could it be that the pillar is like me in suspended animation, but it is actually not dead? Madara's doppelganger squinted and looked at Ye Feng. His eyes were about to bleed, but no matter how he looked, Ye Feng's could not be between the 1,000-hand pillars. It's not a 1,000 hands pillar. Kill him while he is still young. Uchiha was about to strike, when suddenly, the earth suddenly shook again. Another huge 1,000-handed wooden man came out of the land, and standing on top of the wooden man's head was a doppelganger of Ye Feng. But the shaking hasn't stopped yet. The shaking is getting more and more violent. The third huge wooden man with 1,000 hands came out again. 3 towering 1,000-handed wooden figures suddenly appeared, shocking everyone present. Episode 55. How is it possible? His chakra is so strong? Uchiha was really scared. Although it is not Senfa Muduan, true 1,000 hands, and top avatar, but the appearance of 3 very similar 1,000 hands wooden people makes Uchiha a little hesitant to show up. If he didn't show up and kill Ye Feng, he would probably be a little dangerous. Maybe Ye Feng can find his own traces through some clues. Just as Uchiha hesitated, the three Senjuji had already struck. The layers of wooden figures stretched out their huge palms and held one after another. Baiju was absorbed by the thousand hands wooden man, and the intercolumn cells in his body were also sucked away instantly, and he dried up instantly. One after another, it instantly turned into a nutrient solution and dripped on the ground. And the water dragon of the three generations of water shadows hit the thousand-hand wooden man in a row. It was like tickling. This situation dispelled the idea of Uchiha's black hand. Night Maple is too strong, and the risk of making a shot is too high, and it is not worth Uchiha to do this. Back then, the young spots were not the opponents of immortal Muduan true thousands of hands and top, and now the aged spots, facing the young Ye Feng, also have no confidence. Unexpectedly, after so many years of silence, there is such a similar person again. It seems that my plan is about to change again. Thinking of this, Madara's figure gradually disappeared. If you don't have a chance, you will slip away, and Madara is not a pedantic person. Otherwise the battle of the End Valley that year would not have suspended his death. As the spot slipped away, the black and white absolute disappeared instantly, and the white absolute that was still drilling out, when he saw that it was not right, quickly retracted. Want to retract? Think beautiful. Ye Feng was divided into three, controlling 3,000 hands wooden people, and could absorb thousands of white absolutes in a second, and those white abs that were half drilled were also pulled out like being pulled out of turnips. The chakra that was originally consumed was instantly filled, and the chakra that overflowed instantly rushed to the place of the Yin seal on the forehead, making the color of the Yin seal even deeper. At the same time, Ye Feng absorbed countless interpillar cells in Baiju's body through the wooden man art, causing the fusion degree of the character card between the thousand-hand pillars to soar at a speed visible to the naked eye. 75%, 85%, 95%, 99%. It was these white absolutes that instantly provided Night Maple with a fusion degree of more than 20%. If you are 1% short, you will be able to reach the full level. When the fusion degree exceeded 90%, Ye Feng comprehended a new skill, Immortal Mode. At the same time, he also comprehended Immortal Art Myojin Gate. Finally, there is also the strongest Muduan ninjutsu, Immortal Law Muduan True Thousands of Hands, which should be able to be learned when the full level is 100%. Ye Feng is a little excited. There is still a 1% fusion degree, and it will be in 2 or 3 hours. Water Escape, Water Break. The third generation of Water Shadow saw Ye Feng in a daze, and directly used one of the highest single-killing water-done ninjutsu, violently spraying a straight line of ultra-high-pressure water column from his mouth, turning into a sharp water blade, cutting Ye Feng in two. Swish! This knife directly cut Ye Feng and the thousand-hand wooden man from head to toe. One knife in two. Bang! The doppelganger exploded directly, and the thousand-hand wooden man under his feet also collapsed. Ye Feng looked at the three generations of water shadows. Black and white absolute had already left, those cannon fodder and white absolutely all fled. The last enemy, this three generations of water shadows left. The three generations of water shadow and Ye Feng looked at each other, and suddenly felt a little wrong. Take a closer look. Why are they all gone, and they are left alone? Uchiha Madara! You lied to me. The three generations of water shadows roared, turned around and fled. Now in such a situation, he feels very dangerous. May die? Water body. Before the words were finished, the eyes of the three generations of Shueying widened, and the whole person smashed to the ground. Rumble. A deep pit was smashed, 100 meters in size. Three generations of water shadow people, lying in the middle in a large figure, looked at the sky in horror. In the air, Ye Feng's eyes showed red stripes, and at the same time, there was a red circle on his forehead, and his pupils turned golden. This is Immortal Mode? The three generations of water shadows immediately froze, and at this time, Ye Feng's figure suddenly appeared in front of the three generations of water shadows and stepped out. Bang! The eyes of the third generation of Shueying widened, and when he heard a click in his body, his spine was directly stepped on by Ye Feng. The seal of the water body technique was successful in 0.1 seconds, but it was directly interrupted. Ye Feng stepped on the three generations of water shadows and said, "Don't move." The third generation of water shadows almost passed out. Blood was constantly sprayed in his mouth, and his lower body was completely unconscious. He didn't expect that Ye Feng's strike would be a thunderous blow that destroyed him. Let me go. I'm willing to do anything. Ye Feng didn't listen to what the three generations of water shadow said, and was still reminiscing about the battle just now. Less than 3 seconds of battle. Interrupted Mizukage ninjutsu twice in a row, and directly blasted Mizukage. This is the immortal pattern between the thousand-hand pillars. There is no casting, directly with a fist, it is already strong to burst. Ding! Based on the current situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1, put 3 generations of water shadow. Reward, surrender of 3 generations of water shadow. The system has not finished broadcasting, and it was immediately changed again. Ding! The host killed 3 generations of water shadow. Completed option 3, and got a reward, S-class character card, the original Water Shadow White Lotus. Ye Feng was a little confused. How did he complete option 3? Looking down, the 3 generations of water shadows don't know when they run out of gas. I'll go. 3 generations of water shadows hung like this? Ye Feng was unexpected. Episode 56. This water shadow is fake, right? So weak? But the system can't be wrong. Is it because my immortal mode is too strong? At this moment, a light rain suddenly fell in the sky, and the water mist condensed, seemingly mourning for the death of the 3 generations of water shadows. Ye Feng shook his head, looked at the corpse of the 3 generations of water shadow, and still carried the corpse. Bring back the corpses of the 3 generations of water shadow. This should be a great military merit, right? Moreover, the 3 generations of water shadow were killed by themselves in this way, and the mist-hidden village will fall into shadowless turmoil in the short term, and the internal strife will not stop. But it will also help Konoha village reduce a lot of trouble. Ye Feng thought about it, clasped his hands together, and began to seal the seal. On the bridge inserted into the sea, countless thick roots and vines suddenly grew, lifting the bridge again and connecting it with the mainland side. Although the terrain changed a little, Hokage connected the bridge with ninjutsu. It's not difficult, it's more wasted chakra. It just so happens that now Night Maple doesn't have much, that is, chakrato. In addition to the chakra in the original body, there is also the chakra of the Ein seal. Just now absorbed 2,000 or 3,000 white chakras, and now there are more than half left. What made Hokage a little worried was the safety of Uchiha Mikoto, the 7th class, and Terumi. When summoning the 3 Senjuji just now, suddenly the basket was empty, and it was not replenished for a while, so to protect the 7th class, Mikoto's doppelganger should have disappeared automatically. Suddenly, a golden flash of light flew from a distance. It's a wave feng shui gate. He rushed towards Ye Feng's side at full speed, and when he hurried, the tremors of the earth also continued to come from the front. The huge rumbling sound can be clearly heard at the wave feng shui gate, and the huge 1,000-handed wooden man in the distance made Bufeng Shui Men stunned. This is Night Maple's psychic beast? Or the enemy? Bufeng Shui Men was born after the first generation died. Naturally, he had never seen the first generation of Mu Duan, and he was already very surprised when he saw the art of the wooden man for the first time. Then there was a burst of explosive bombardment sounds, and the fierce wind immediately rushed in. It's terrifying. However, the closer he got to the battlefield, the more solemn the expression on Bufeng Shui face became. What was originally a plain terrain has directly become a basin. Everywhere were huge roots and vines cut off from the waist, and many of them were uprooted and fell to the ground. But there was no body at all, and the downpour, very weird. He couldn't help but secretly swallow a mouthful of spit. The surrounding water mist is desolate. In the mist, a figure suddenly walked out. Bufeng Shui Men suddenly stood up in sweat, and took out the special flying thunder god, Ku Wu. Watergate? In the mist, Ye Feng's figure gradually became clear. Ye Feng, are you alright? Bufeng Shui Men was stunned for a moment, and quickly walked up. I heard Shinobu Harakami say that you are in danger. Before he finished speaking, the wave feng shui gate was stuck, and he looked at the corpse that Ye Feng was carrying on his shoulder in amazement. Water shadow cloak, water shadow robe? Ye Feng, this is. Watergate stammered. Ye Feng dropped the body and just revealed the front. Wuyin village protected his forehead, long hair. His face was completely deformed, and his mouth was full of blood. Take a closer look. The waist is bent and the spine is broken. 3 generations of water shadows. Watergate, you came just in time, help me carry it. Bufeng Shui Men was stunned. Is this person really a 3rd generation water shadow? Died at the hands of Ye Feng? You killed 3 generations of water shadow? Or else? Ye Feng patted Watergate's shoulder and said, let's go back. On the way back, Watergate was still full of shock, and Ye Feng actually killed 3 generations of water shadow. When he was a middle ninja, Ye Qid was still a shinobi. When he reached Shangnan, Ye Feng was already particularly forbearant. When he carried out his first S-class mission, Ye Feng killed the 3 generations of water shadow. Such a reverse speed made Watergate feel a little unbalanced. Ye Feng also had questions about this. The 3rd generation of water shadows looks weak, and I trampled to death with 1 foot. Watergate's eyelids jumped, and then, Watergate suddenly thought of what he had told himself. He muttered and said, according to our spy records, after 3 generations of water shadow took office, the frequency of occurrence in Wuyin village has become less and less frequent in this year. We guess that the 3 generations of water shadow either have something ulterior or are seriously ill. Something ulterior? Seriously ill? Ye Feng immediately remembered Black and White, as well as the person behind him, and nodded and said, it may be both. Watergate nodded and said, yes, the sudden implementation of the high-pressure policy in the blood mist, we guess, is to exclude dissidents. But we also feel too unreasonable to be in such a hurry to exclude dissidents. No matter what, Ye Feng, you have done a great job this time. This time will definitely disrupt the plans of Wuyin village, and Wuyin village will be in turmoil because of this. Your name Ye Feng will soon be able to shake the entire ninja world. Episode 57. Just as Hokage was returning, Mikoto Uchiha and Akira Haruno had already led everyone back to Konoha village. However, it was the Danzo mission that returned to Konoha a little earlier than them. Led by Mito Manita and Koharu, Danzo walked to the main gate of Konoha Village. Looking at the night sky of Konoha Village, Danzo took a deep breath. I'm back. Danzo glanced at the young Mito Ryosuke and Shun Shinto and said, go and ask Uzumaki-sama Mito to come over. The seal of the two tails is unstable, and there is danger at any time. Ape Flying Biwa Lake hurriedly said, if that's the case, you can't enter the village, let's go to the training ground. Danzo glanced at Lake Biwa, nodded and said, yes, it's still Lord Biwako who is thoughtful, and please call Lord Uzumaki Mito over as soon as possible. Saying that, the regiment will not go away, and behind him a blonde girl with iron locks tied to her hands, shivering. The brace she wears shows that she is a ninja of Yunin Village. At this moment, Mikoto Uchiha and Zhao Haruno ran back with everyone. Uchiha Mikoto looked at the lights in the doorway from a distance, quickened her pace, and shouted, emergency, I want to see Naruto-sama. When Tuanzong heard this, he stopped and turned around. Sarutobi Biwako hurriedly greeted him and said, this is Mikoto. What happened to you? Lord Biwako, Ye Feng, he was attacked by 3 generations of water shadows, and there are many white weirdos. Hurry up and send someone to rescue him. When Ape Flying Biwa heard this, his face immediately changed and said, which Shangnan is still in the village now? Tuanzong came over and said, what's wrong? Uchiha Mikoto saw Danzo and immediately turned pale, but Haruno Zhao in the back still explained the situation in detail. Mito Menyen next to him said, just now, Buofeng Shui Man Shinobu has already gone. Mikoto's eyes lit up and said, Shinobi on the water gate? Why didn't I see it? Mito Menyen smiled and said, then I don't know. That Lord Biwako, can you send more manpower? I don't know why there are a large number of white weirdos on the side of Wuin Village. Xiaqun said coldly, no, we can't arrange more manpower here, because we still have more important tasks on our side. Abito couldn't help but say, what important task is more important than teacher Ye Feng? Tuanzong saw Abito, such a small Uchiha clan, actually opened the Sharingan? The second generation is right, the Uchiha clan is an evil race. Now he is still colluding with Ye Feng. Little Ghost, our Konoha village is the most important. Anyone, at any time, can sacrifice for Konoha village. There is no one more important than Konoha. Little Ghost, your mind is dangerous. Is this how the Uchiha clan taught you? Or maybe Ye Feng taught you that? Abito was stunned by Tuanzo and took 2 steps back. Uchiha Mikoto, blocked in front of Abito, looked at Danzo and said, Danzo-sama, children don't have so many ideas. Is it against the interests of Konoha village to save Yakid Kamido? Tuanzong squinted his eyes, and the Zhuan sleeping Shinto next to him stood up and said, are you teaching our administrative department to do things? Naruto-sama has something to leave, and the most urgent matter in the village now is more important than rescuing Yokaid Shinobu. Besides, you have already sent Wave Feng Shui Gate Shangren. What else do you want to do? Do you want to disobey the orders of the Ministry of Administration? As soon as the words of the turning sleep Shinto came out, Uchiha Mikoto turned pale with fright, lowered her head and said, Mikoto doesn't dare, but... Ryosuke Mito next to him interrupted Uchiha Mikoto, no, but, as a Konoha ninja, always guard the will of fire. We must protect Konoha, put Konoha's interests first, and do not carry personal feelings. Mikoto Naka Shinobu, your mind is dangerous now. Shun Shinto snorted and said to Kami-sama next to him, immediately pass on Uzumaki Mito-sama. We need Uzumaki Mito-sama's help to stabilize the seal of Neo. Whoever obstructs and lets Miao come out and destroy Konoha village is a sinner of Konoha village. Whirlpool Courtyard. Jyoshina looked at Uzumaki Mito with a happy face and said, Grandma Mito, I succeeded? Uzumaki Mito looked at Jyoshina lovingly, nodded and said, yes, the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, you have already comprehended 7, 7, 8, 8. That's great. Uzumaki Mito touched Jyoshina's head, did you miss someone? Jyoshina's face blushed slightly and said, whatever, she really wanted to be Night Maple up. It's been 3 days, and I don't know when I'll be back. You don't have to worry, Ye Feng's strength is so strong. It will definitely be fine. Jyoshina nodded, but he was still a little worried in his heart, because according to normal terms, he should be coming back today, right? This is the first time Ye Feng has gone out on a mission, and as soon as he goes out, it is a B-level mission. How can he not let Jyoshina not worry? A hint of uneasiness flashed in Uzumaki Mito's eyes, but it quickly covered up. Ye Feng is definitely on his way back now. Don't worry, maybe he will come back later in the evening. At this moment, there was a knocking sound outside. There is an order from the Ministry of Administration, Uzumaki Mito-sama. Please come with us. Uzumaki Mito frowned and said, Ministry of Administration? Yes, there is an emergency here, and I need the help of Lord Mito Uzumaki. Is there anything you need my help with? There is a little situation in the two-tailed human pillar force captured by the Danzo-sama's side, and it needs the help of Uzumaki-sama Mito, which is very urgent. Uzumaki Mito looked at Jyoshina and said, Jyoshina, come with me to take a look. Yes, Grandma Mito. Episode 58. Uzumaki Mito and Kushina came to the training ground and were led in by Kami Shinobu of the administration department. Danzo-sama, Mito-sama, Dormitory-sama, Uzumaki-sama Mito is here. In the center of the training ground, it was Danzo, Mito Menyen, and Koharu. Next to it was a girl. It was the two-tailed man with his hands tied to iron locks, and the two teak doors. As if he had just cried, his small mouth was pursed tightly. Now such a formation is trembling with fear. Master Uzumaki Mito, let's see if this two-tailed human pillar force is unstable. Do you want to change the personal pillar force? Uzumaki Mito pulled Kushina closer, looked at the scared look of the two teak doors, frowned and said, "What are you doing? If you don't want any accidents, then let them go first." Kushina couldn't help but say, "They are still so young, how can you treat them like this?" Koharu immediately scolded angrily, "Presumptuous. Kushina, is it your turn to speak here? Let her go? In case she has a sudden seizure, who will be responsible?" Uzumaki Mito glanced at Koharu and said, "You know what, Kushina is right. You guys doing this will only have the opposite effect, let them go." Koharu's face changed slightly, and he snorted and said, "Master Mito Uzumaki, if something goes wrong, we can't afford it." Uzumaki Mito looked at Koharu and said, "Didn't you bring back this two-tailed human pillar force? Something went wrong, not your problem?" Turning to Sleep Xiaochun, "Thanks to you being an elder and advisor for so many years, such words can be said." When Koharu heard this, he gritted his teeth and stopped talking. Mito Menyen smiled and said, "Uzumaki Mito-sama, we don't mean that, we just think it's too risky for you to say that you want to let her go. Don't look at her young, her strength is not weak. After all, it's human pillar power. What we mean is that this person's pillar force looks very unstable, whether to continue to seal it steadily, or transfer the second tail to another girl. After all, that girl has a blood succession limit on her." Uzumaki Mito said lightly, "Did you do this at the behest of Hokage? Lord Hokage is resisting the attack of Yunin village, special circumstances in wartime. Lord Hokage is not there, and everything is in charge of the Ministry of Administration." Administration Department? What about Akimichi Wind? Akimichi took the wind, he suddenly fell ill, and temporarily handed over the administration department to the two deputies. Mito Menyen smiled and said, "Everything we do is completely for Konoha. Please rest assured Uzumaki-sama." Uzumaki Mito frowned, "It's better not to transfer indiscriminately, no one knows what will happen. Get out of the way." Danzo nodded and said, "Okay, Uzumaki-sama, then this place will be left to you, trouble." After taking 2 steps, Danzo turned back and said, "Master Uzumaki Mito, for the safety of Konoha, we are going to open the 4 purple flame array. Do you think there is any problem?" Uzumaki Mito glanced at Danzo, nodded, and said, "Okay." As soon as Tuanzong walked out of the range of the magic formation, the 4 upper shinobi standing around him immediately began to cast spells. The enchantment is formed immediately. The 4 purple flame array was a cuboid enchantment with a purple transparent flame that opened up in the 4 directions of east, west, south, and north. The enchantment array is attached with purple flames, which cannot allow outsiders to enter the inside of the enchantment, and once it touches the 4 walls of the enchantment, it will be burned by the flames. Uzumaki Mito always felt that something was wrong, but walked up anyway. Just walked up and opened the girl's iron lock, but found that the girl was sweating profusely, as if she was enduring something, and said to Uzumaki Mito, "Old aunt, you hurry up." Uzumaki Mito's face suddenly changed. "What?" Before she could react, an extremely evil blue chakra emerged from the girl's body. Rumble. With a loud bang, Uzumaki Mito opened the 9-tailed form at the same time and flew out upside down. Uzumaki Mito's mind was dizzy, and when he looked up, he saw a huge cat demon, very huge, with a blue evil chakra on his body, 2 tails swinging, and a yin and yang chakra condensing in his mouth. Tailed beast Jade. The huge terrifying coercion made Kushina sit down directly. Uzumaki Mito blocked in front of Kushina, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said in a deep voice, "This time it's troublesome. This is not the tail beastization, but the tailed beast got rid of the seal and the real body came out. The girl had fainted and died, and I was afraid that she was so badly injured that she could no longer be a human pillar. Here, the most suitable person to be a human pillar force is only Kushina." Uzumaki Mito squinted. Could it be a small action by Tuanzo? Damn it. Cancel the enchantment and let Kushina out. Uzumaki Mito-sama, I'm sorry, the tailed beast has come out, we can't open the enchantment. Uzumaki Mito was immediately furious. I can naturally restrain the tailed beast, what are you afraid of? Sorry, Uzumaki-sama, we can't do this. This is our duty. Episode 59. At this moment, the tailed beast Jade of the 2-tailed brigade bombarded Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito roared, extracted the 9-tailed chakra, and used the 9-tailed chakra to materialize into the hand of the chakra that resembled the sharp claws of a demon fox, and grabbed the tailed beast Jade. Rumble. With a loud bang, the entire enchantment shook. Kushina covered her heart and muttered, "Grandma Mito, you must be fine." At this time, Kushina found that something was wrong. This matter is probably premeditated. Uzumaki Mito looked beyond the enchantment. Danzo and the others were no longer there. leaving only the 4 upper shinobi who were using the 4 purple flame arrays around them. Within the 4 purple yen array, Uzumaki Mito lost his mind, and was caught by the second Tails Brigade, and a cat's claw directly slapped Uzumaki Mito away. Grandma Mito! Uzumaki Mito spewed out a mouthful of blood, and suddenly found himself in front of a huge iron gate. And inside the iron gate, there was an orange-red nine-tailed fierce beast locked. Uzumaki Mito, it seems that you are in trouble. Do you want to release all my strength? Tail beasting. I can help you in any way. Humph, 9 tails, we've been so many years, what are you like? I don't know. I will borrow your ability, but you don't think about devouring my body and regaining freedom. This is impossible. Uzumaki Mito opened his eyes, and his eyes turned into vertical pupils. Half-tailed beastization. The body of the whirlpool Mito changed significantly, forming a clear gushing state of the tailed beast chakra, covered with a dark red tailed beast chakra coat, like a humanoid tailed beast. It's just that behind her is not the 9 tails, but the 6 tails. Over the years, Uzumaki Mito has been very restrained and has hardly used tail beasting, but now the situation has to be used. Rumble. An even more deafening bang than just now. This time, it was the 2 tails who flew out upside down again. After Mio was slapped away by Uzumaki Mito's palm, Dragon Tooth grinned and roared angrily. Uzumaki Mito's figure flashed, and suddenly appeared in front of Neo Yugaku, with 5 fingers wrapped around the 5 attribute chakra. 5 element seal. Neo Yuga is very nimble, like a cat, jumping away in an instant, dodging the attack of Uzumaki Mito. But Uzumaki Mito's speed was just as fast, and he chased after him, pressing one hand on Neo Yugaku's stomach. Ah! Human, you look for death. Neo Yuga suddenly made a sound and slapped Uzumaki Mito away. The two collided again, fighting countless times in the air. Seemingly simple attacks, but each blow carried a very large chakra. Finally, both flew upside down at the same time. Uzumaki Mito wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, gasped, and did not pursue, because her tail beastization was almost at a critical point. If you want to go further, the 9 tails will probably get out of trouble. But the 2-tailed brigade on the opposite side has no such concerns at all. Damn it, do you want Joshinai to seal this cat demon and become a human pillar force? Uzumaki Mito has always regarded Joshina as his own, and the successor of the 9-tailed pillar force who was originally good is now forced to become the air-tailed man pillar force. Moreover, his own seal is already about to move. Outside the training ground, Danzo, Mito Manita, and Koharu looked at the enchantment from a distance and smiled. Mito Menyen said in a deep voice, Danzo, trap them inside, they won't die, right? Danzo smiled and said, how can the 2 tails kill the 9 tails? You don't have to worry, Uzumaki Mito will definitely not let Joshinai make any mistakes. No matter what the outcome is, Ye Feng will lose his only reliance. How can the seriously injured Uzumaki Mito be able to keep Night Maple safe? Besides, at that time, Uzumaki Mito will not have the ability to decide who will inherit the 9 tails. No matter what, we can't let Night Maple combine with the 9-tailed pillar force. Besides, Ye Feng and the Uchiha clan are also very close. Just take Uchiha Makoto's reaction today. Maybe he and Uchiha Makoto also have something unspeakable. For the sake of Konoha village, we must eliminate all factors of instability and maintain the peace and stability of Konoha. Mito Menyen frowned and said, in case Ye Feng gets angry, his strength is not weak. It can be said that we are one of the best in Konoha. Xiaochin suddenly sneered and said, does he still dare to kill us? How can we say that we are also the elder figures of the village? He dares to touch a single hair of us, and no one in Konoha can protect him. At that time, Ape Fei will also make a move to protect the will of fire. Are there so many of us? Are we afraid that Ye Feng will not be able to make it a hairy boy? At this time, Ye Feng and Buofeng Shueimon returned to Konoha village. Episode 60. Ye Feng looked ahead and had already reached the gate of Konoha village. It was already night, the gate of the village entrance was brightly lit, and there were a few figures faintly. Looking closely, the female ninja in front turned out to be Makoto Uchiha. Night Maple? It's great that you're okay. She had been waiting for herself at the door. There are also 3 people in the 7th class. Terumi has been taken away as a mission target. Teacher, Night Maple. Rin and Makoto Uchiha rushed up first. Ye Feng smiled and said, it's okay, I'm back. Lin pulled the corner of Ye Feng's clothes and looked. Teacher, your body is too clean. Uchiha Makoto looked at the wave feng shui gate behind him. Watergate, this is. Watergate said in a deep voice, this is a secret, I will go first. Ye Feng nodded and said, well, you go first. As soon as the words fell, the Watergate disappeared. Uchiha Makoto suddenly felt a little nervous. She saw the clothes on the person carrying by the Watergate, a little familiar. It seemed to be a Hokage robe. No, the color is not right. It's a blue pattern. It won't be a water shadow. Uchiha Makoto shook her head, removing this impossible idea of herself. How could it be Mizukage? Ye Feng touched Lin's head and said, okay, it's so late. The teacher is back. Go home. Lin nodded and said, well, teacher, see you tomorrow. Well, you guys go back too. Yokaide said to Obito and Kakashi. The 3 students also have a bit of conscience and know how to wait for themselves at the door. The task is completed, rest for a few days first. Makoto, go back too. Uchiha Makoto nodded and said, Ye Kid, then I will take Obito back. thank you for helping our Uchiha family cultivate a genius. Ye Feng smiled and said, this is his talent, although he prefers to cry his nose, but the talent is still there. Ah, teacher Ye Feng, shut up. Obito is urgent. How can you say such an ugly thing about yourself in front of Mikoto-sensei? And Rin is watching here. Obito wants to kill Ye Kid. Teacher Ye Feng is so hateful. Ye Feng smiled, waved his hand, and said, let's go, let's go. I'll go back too. Now Ye Feng is like an arrow in his heart, killing Shueying or something. It's all floating clouds, or it's more important to go back to see his fiancée and daughter-in-law. I wonder what Joshinai is doing now. Are you thinking about yourself? Uchiha Mikoto suddenly said. By the way, Yokaid, I heard that Danzo has returned, and he asked the people of the administration department to ask Uzumaki Mito-sama to go somewhere. Danzo called Grandma Mito away? Uchiha Mikoto nodded and said, yes, Danzo seems to have brought back some two tails. Please ask Uzumaki Mito-sama to help seal it. Neo? If Ye Feng remembers correctly, Erwei was in Yunin Village, and Tuanzong had just signed a 20-year peace agreement with Yunin Village, and turned around and stole Erwei from Yunin Village. It's really an olding by. In just a moment, Ye Feng had already guessed the matter. Listening to Fugaku, he saw Uzumaki Mito-sama and Kushina go to the number 4 training ground, which is the training ground closest to Hokage Rock. Ye Feng frowned, feeling a little uneasy in his heart, and said, I know, then I'll take a look first. After speaking, Ye Feng's figure disappeared instantly. The 3 members of the 7th class were once again amazed by Ye Feng's speed. The teacher is too fast. This is Shangnan. Humph, I will definitely be more powerful than the teacher in the future. Obito, you can dream. Kakashi, are you trying to fight? Come on, don't think that if you open the Sharingan, I'm afraid of you. I also have a Thunder Thousand Birds. Obito and Kakashi quarreled again, and Rin said speechlessly, you guys don't argue. It's so late. Go home quickly. Uchiha Mikoto frowned, pulled Obito and said, let's go home. Another genius has appeared in our Uchiha family, and after going back, the head of the family must be very happy. Obito nodded, glanced at Kakashi, snorted, and walked away with his nose towards the sky. He took the soil and is now a genius of the Uchiha family. Ye Feng's figure was fast, stepping on the eaves, flashing, and directly came to the wall of the whirlpool courtyard. Uzumaki Mito and Kushina were indeed not in it. It seems that they really went to the training ground. At this moment, Ye Feng felt that in the direction of the fire shadow rock, 2 very huge chakras suddenly appeared. One of the chakras, Ye Feng is very familiar with. Nine-tailed chakra. It is Uzumaki Mito. The other one is probably Neo. Grandma Mito and Kushina are in trouble over there. Thinking of this, Ye Feng immediately flew towards the number 4 training ground. At this moment, the character card between the 1,000-hand pillars, the fusion degree was suddenly 100% full. Ding! Congratulations to the host for fully fusing the SSS level character card 1,000-hand pillar. In Ye Feng's mind, he immediately digested all the knowledge related to the 1,000-hand pillars. All the power between the 1,000-hand pillars has been inherited. The ninja god last, that is, the strongest ninjutsu, immortal magic mu dun true thousands of hands, top avatar, has been comprehended. Now Ye Feng feels like 1,000-hand pillars. Ninja God. Ding. Search for S-class character card Uzumaki Ashina and S-class character card original water shadow white lotus. The host can fuse one of them. Which one to fuse? Ye Feng said without hesitation, fusion vortex Ashina.